Herbert's presented a model there, but the three elites that you work with on the circuit, Sandy, Alicia, and Sam, might, there's some basic principles there, but there'll be some things where those three differ quite greatly. So what's your thoughts on that kind of sequencing and energy transfer through the jump, and how those three in particular maybe conform with that or do something a little different to that?
Yeah, so if we look back at actually going back to the conversation we had during the indoor season, for me, I feel like my role as a coach on the road is more in the context of competition management. So I'm looking at all three of my athletes, or even others, Matt Ludwig or Courtney Ross or somebody like that, and I'm trying to get them matched up, right grip, right pole, get their run in the right place. Really the basic adjustments that anybody would do, and then we help to make those adjustments from meet to meet. Now, in between meets or after meets, we'll look at the video, and we talk very much in terms of exactly what Herbert is showing. And I couldn't agree more that I believe that is sort of the ideal model in terms of positioning. And probably if you were to, I would love to see that type of mapping of all three of the athletes that I work with, because I think you would find that Alicia Newman probably conforms to that model the closest of all of them. But because each of those athletes, because each of those athletes has their own personal coaches, Sam's coach, of course, is his father. And he's probably the one of the three that I spend the most time with, because he does travel a little bit with to championships and such. But I'll occasionally touch base with Brian Compton, who is Sandy Morris's coach. We talked several times before Doha, specifically about the cues that he was developing or that he was using with Sandy in training sessions to ensure her most consistent jumps. And then for those that don't know, Alicia is actually coached by Doug Wood, who was a vaulter himself, held the Canadian record before Sean Barber. And I speak with him on the phone quite frequently, and we'll talk about the things that they're working on in training. And then all three athletes will send me video periodically throughout the season. And what they're trying to do is educate me as to the cues that their personal coaches are developing for them. And that way we're all kind of on the same page when we go into a competition. And it really works well. And yet I have to work within the confines of what each athlete does well and what each athlete and the limitations technically, because I'm not there to try to change their technique during a competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Understood. Peter, maybe I'll come to you then, and maybe we can talk a little bit quickly about Angelica, who you've been working with for a few years now, and talk about how, we have a very small athlete, but who is very fast, very gymnastic, and maybe some of the things that you're doing with an athlete like that to try and get the most out of them in terms of that energy exchange.
Yes, when she came to me, I knew already how she jumped, but I didn't want to change too much, because she have jumped since she was 10 years old. And the last years she jumped almost the same technically and so on. So when we looked at things, the only thing that I wanted to change was the approach run, and to be higher in the run, and also the takeoff, which I think she went in with the left arm. I don't, can you see that? She always went in with the left, and she dropped her right arm, and the hip went in a little bit. So I wanted to work with the right arm and to push that forward up to towards the bar, and to be higher in the takeoff. And if you're higher in the takeoff, the pull will go a little bit more like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I try to develop that. And also, if she would do this properly, she will take bigger pulls, and she will be able to grip higher. That's were my thoughts. Exactly. The other thing and we worked with this for over a year. And then the other thing, her and her father, they tried to swing her legs really fast. The problem was that her hip stopped moving when she came to almost the L position. And then the pull wants to straighten. And she kicked her legs up, but she had to kick them and leave the pole instead of staying with the pole and go upwards. So these are the things that we've been trying to change and improve with Angelica. And
I think for the audience at home, Peter, that's a common thing that that people really struggle with is getting trapped in that position. So I'll do it with this hand, where the legs have come up, but the hips are staying very low in the swing, as you just described. So what things are you trying to do to help conquer this problem?
We did, parallel bars. In gymnastic, you have parallel bars, and then you hang with the parallel bars, and then you have to lower your shoulders and to get the energy to come up to handstands.
The free flight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flight,
So that's how you learn the swing with. So you move the hip all the time. So you must be in movement. So that works actually, and I know the Russians did that a lot as well. So that's one of the things. And then of course during the training. When we train and jumped all the time, we try to achieve it all the time. And she did it in Doha, actually.
Yeah, okay. No, for sure. She, her jumping in Doha was very, very, very nice. Yeah. But so it's a combination of exercises away from pole vaulting that are mimicking this movement and creating this kind of understanding of the movement, and then you're trying to create this on the pole. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I mean,
and also you have the normal when you in a high bar and you do the normal, I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, I understand.
And when you rock up on the bar.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that the movement on parallel bars where you're doing this is, I think in gymnastics, this is called a felga to handstand, which is a pretty complex skill.
Yes, it is.
But
she's a gymnast and she can also do in high bars. She can I don't know what you call that in English when you
a hip circle to handstand. Yeah.
The giant swing. Swing.
Okay.
So a lot of gymnastic and I mean she is a gymnastic since she was young.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. We're gonna take some questions from the audience in just 1 minute. But Herbert, final question. Maybe I'll talk to you a little bit about Angelica Moser. So it's two different Angelicas. Obviously, you guys were working together for a long time, and I think she won every age group championships that was available to her. And then, of course, in the last week, she found another 10 centimeters that she put on her personal best to win in where were we? in Turin, and I've been traveling too much. I've lost my mind. So what do you see? I mean, obviously she has made some changes to find an extra 10 centimeters. What was the difference, do you think, with this day of jumping compared to some of the stuff that we have seen before from her? Looking at your sequence.
It's. I would say that during the months that I'm away now from Switzerland, she was working very good with her strength coach and speed coach, and also Nicole Büchler did a very good job of improve or maybe transferring her technique during this phase where things were very unclear and things were very hard for her to get. To get a new coach, basically, because now when she's starting to work with Damien Inocencio from France, it was not clear during the winter, and so she had to rely on a quite unstable position, which really rose these forces within her personality that she maybe had been relying on me before. I would do all the planning, I would do all the training preparations, and I would together with her mom make the planning for the preparation for the top competitions. And now she was being more active as much as I could see. We were still sharing videos, and from time to time she's asking me about my opinion on different questions, but I could see that she's a lot more dynamic. So her whole body seems to be more dynamic than till last September. So she could use more energy throughout her job. We were stagnating a little bit since 2016. There was not much of an improvement, and now she started to break that chain. that kept her down. And the most important thing, in my opinion, was that she trusted herself, that she was self-confident enough to say, I can do it without Herbert, and that I will have other strong partners, and they will help me. And it's just me in the end. I must really do a good job with myself. And that's what I really think she improved during the last months considerably. Because if you look at the competition in Toron, it could have been over very, very quickly. But looking at biomechanically, to me she looked more dynamic, but not really faster. And I blame it to some Achilles problems that she had on the right foot during the indoor season. Not really bad things, but it may have prevented for her earlier to jump for 70 and higher. But the whole working on the pole was more dynamic. I still think the right shoulder during the takeoff should have been more active, as she showed. She was more concentrating on the left arm, but that's really tiny things, and we could argue a long time about that. But she grew in personality because her long-standing coach left her, had to leave for personal reasons, and so she was now on her own with new partners, partially at least. And I think what she did show was what she always showed in the junior championships, that under the condition that she's prepared and that she has a chance to win a medal, then she is very hard to beat because in the competition she's so tough. She went through a very bad situation when I think at 460 or 465, one of her jumps, the standards were not placed correctly, and she had to jump 4 times in a row, as much as I could see from the TV, not with any athlete in between. So she had her first jump missing because the standards were well placed, the second jump failing, third jump failing, but only the second missing competition, and only the fourth jump went over it. And then she said she went through a very hard situation, and she's capable to do things like that in the biggest competitions. When for many other athletes, the doubts are growing, and then she's just getting tough, more and more tough. So that is really a personal quality that she has.
That's amazing.
She would have done with you the same thing.
Yeah, it's amazing, and that's those stories of dealing with adversity in the middle of the competition. I don't think there's ever been a more vivid example than other Angelica in Doha, which was just one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, when she is breaking the pole and then she can't find the pole and then she's rushing and stressed. And
right.
We were all sat there thinking, there's just no way she can make this bar. And then she cleared it. It was just incredible. It was incredible. But anyway, look, fascinating insight. And the thing that I love most about that kind of story there, Herbert, was the fact that it's not just one thing and actually sits across all areas. There's technical components of improvement, there's physical components of improvement, but there's also like behavioral improvements as well. So the way that she conducts herself as an athlete has improved as well over the last 6 months because of her circumstances. And it's the combination of all three of those that has led to this elevation in performance. And I love that kind of message, because all three of those factors, of course, so important.